Hey, it's me, it's Jay. I want to show you something interesting before we get started here at the table. I want to show you what at the table looks like in real life. Take a look at this. This is what at the table is.
Not at the top. No, I do want to find a good one.
We got my mom and I got my rap. We got my style that'll make you come dance. It goes on. It goes to.
Big truck is here. Welcome to At the Table. I'm Ray. That's Stefan. That's Jay.
This
And
is our family.
this is our family. And we're all at, my guess is all of our folks at Front Street have been to this place called Steve's Smokehouse. We absolutely love it. Most of you know that we just finished one series and we're starting a new one. And this one is called At the Table.
For the last 3
years.
we've done an At the Table series.
Yeah.
We did At the Table at the beginning of all of this filming.
Yep.
We did At the Table again, At the Table still, and this one we're doing At the Table family style.
Family style.
Yeah.
Thus, the reason our whole family, we're missing one. Jay's oldest, his daughter, is not with us.
I mean, your two boys are not here.
And my two
And your
boys are here,
daughter-in-law.
and my daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
But most of our family's here.
Good chunk of. The point of this series
It's about eating, right?
It's about eating.
About
Because
eating,
it's
that's
not
what I
about
thought.
families necessarily. It's about a style of gathering together that's independent of a family structure.
Okay.
You know, so it could be friends, it could be college buddies, it could be workmates. It's gathering together in an intentional way and sharing a meal.
You're saying it's not just, it's how you're eating, you were saying?
Yeah, so when I go out to restaurants, we find places that are family style. Sometimes you'll see that at other cultural cuisines. Yeah, but some restaurants will call it tapas style. Some restaurants will call it
Put a bunch out in the
Put a
middle.
bunch
out.
It's like what would happen when we have appetizers.
when we have appetizers.
Yeah, that's right.
They're shared.
We're going to get
Okay,
6
okay.
or 7 appetizers. We're just going to kind of eat off of that.
Yeah.
So that's the family style. We're all just kind of passing the plate. What this whole series is about faith development. It's about developing faith outside of Sunday morning, outside of that 1 to 2 hours that some of us commit to on a weekly, or some of us bi-weekly, some of us monthly basis at this point in our life cycles. It's about developing our faith outside of that.
We believe that the table is where divine things happen.
Yeah.
God encounters family and friends as we eat, as we share, and thus is the reason we named our whole series At the Table for our filming. And we believe that we as disciples, when we gather people around us, and food happens to be a vehicle sometimes, where we can engage in conversation, where we can invite the stranger to say, hey, let's go out and have a burger, or let's go to Steve's and have some barbecue. I'd love to get to know you.
I just want to pause for a second and say that sounds, that's cute. Right? But I know you well enough to know it's not cute.
No, it's
Like
not.
it's something you have come to believe in deeply, not just like, oh, that's nice, families, people are nice at the table. It's not that. It's something more. Would you indulge me for a second and sell me a little bit more on the severity of the reality of that?
I like that. The severe.
If you gather on a table, you're breaking walls down. Walls that divide us, walls that separate us. I can sit around a meal, and I have, with somebody who has the opposite political values and views that I do. But we sit around and we love each other. That's because we're tearing down those walls.
Yeah.
And you can do that around the table. When you tear down walls, you build relationships. And anytime we have a relationship that we build, that is godly activity.
Yeah.
And that's
There we
what this is about. It's godly activity. When we can share and build that together, that's what this is all about.
I mean, that was God's intention, right? Apparently in Genesis.
I mean, those of us who are part of traditional church, we have the Eucharist, the communion, the Lord's Supper.
right.
That's a gathering at the table.
I'd even like to think that our whole creation story might be a bit of a family style endeavor of creation. You get God who comes in and starts creating things and makes heaven and earth, and then separates the waters, and then creates land masses, and then animals in the sky, the sea, and then each of one of those says, hey, this is really good.
Yeah.
And it's almost like
What
an
is this guy
invitation.
like who keeps saying
This is really good.
This is good.
But it's almost like an invitation. Hey, this is good. You should also think it's good.
like-
It's
Take
like
part.
that. Like, oh, these tacos were really good. Hey, you should try a bite.
That's exactly
You should
try
try.
one.
That's kind of what it feels like.
What we hope that folks can do is if you've never done it before, gather around the table.
open up your
Yeah.
table.
Open up your table. Your next door neighbor.
Okay,
Yes.
so let me give a practical piece.
That's the immediate call to action. Is if you haven't gathered around with somebody that's outside of your immediate family or just your couple, if the two of you are in the house, then yeah, go and find some other
There's
people to
two
sit around.
pieces of information that somebody gave us that helped us when it came to hospitality, because I'm thinking about people I know that love, they're like, open up my house. Well, okay, go somewhere else.
Yeah, you
Have
can.
beer.
If that makes you uncomfortable,
Right?
yeah.
But the other
Come
thing
to Steve.
the other thing is, if you there's two types of meals. Mike Breen, kind of a guru on missional communities, pastor, Anglican Church of England pastor. He said there's two types of meals.
Okay.
I don't know if I've mentioned this.
No, you
It was
haven't.
interesting when he told us. Was one is like utilitarian, like
Yes.
Eat.
like throw the pasta noodles in there, pouring sauce, boom, have the meal.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the MRE.
Right.
Get the
Right.
substance
There's that.
to move.
And then there's another kind, which is where you cook something creative that you really love, and either one works.
Yes.
Either one works. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the whole. It doesn't have to be something bigger than you can manage. Is my
Yeah.
point. Because I just want to take for a second. This idea dies
Yeah.
at people's fears.
Yeah, because
Right.
You're so right. Absolutely.
My house isn't that great or whatever. I can't make good food or whatever. Now, then there's a third part that I think is really important is it's really good if everybody else is contributing.
Oh, absolutely.
If you let people do the dishes. If
Yes.
somebody comes in the house and you're not providing the whole meal, you're like, yes, hell, cook those burgers or something. You know, literally, it's more like family.
Yeah.
If you were to come over to our house, how can I help? And I had a way for you to help.
Yeah.
That's going to be fundamentally different.
maybe, I don't know, a lot of folks on my journey think you can have everything right.
Yeah.
If you go out and you got to think everything right, then just go someplace else because
Yeah, right,
you get too uptight and you won't be able to enjoy
relationship.
right.
Yeah.
It isn't.
If the creation of the meal enhances the relationship, do
Right,
it.
Yeah.
right.
If the simplicity of the meal makes it uncomplicated, do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had dinner with this couple the other night. We sat outside. It was a beautiful evening, and it was a simple pasta meal. It was just pasta,
Yeah.
veggies, done beautifully, and some bread, frankly. And that's all there was.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't the focus.
Yeah,
the focus is we wanted to be with them.
Right.
They wanted to be with us. And the food was just a vehicle. We all had to eat. They're almost intimate friends.
Yeah.
Because I've been in their home. I drank their wine.
Yeah.
I ate their pasta.
I'm
I had their
Slow
tea.
down with them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, we were there from like 5:30, 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, so what do you do to? Okay, I'm trying to address pitfalls.
Go ahead,
Right?
yeah.
Pitfalls. One is I'm not comfortable hosting my house and the food. Right. So how about conversation? What do you? What? Can you peel back like open the hood and say, I think this is what I do to enhance conversation?
That's the point. Is asking,
Being curious,
being curious. I mean, that's just it. You know, in a few minutes.
deeply curious
Right.
about another person's life.
Yeah.
Jay's boys. You saw online last week. We showed you some film of them.
Yeah.
His two boys and their two cousins, who are between the two, all went on a hike in the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
4 boys. The oldest one is
20.
in college. The youngest one is
16.
16 in high school.
Yeah.
And they're all, the 4 of them by themselves in Colorado. So I have some questions I want to ask.
Yeah,
you.
right,
You know,
right.
I want to.
Yep.
What
Be
was the
curious, right?
What was the scariest
Yeah.
moment?
Right,
What was
yeah.
the most fun? What do you never want to do again?
And
Would you
those
do
kind
that
of
again?
questions are replicatable in other scenarios that aren't just like, oh, I went on this big trip or I went on this roller coaster.
Right.
You ask somebody about their job rather than just asking, hey, what do you do for work? Find out what they do for work, but then ask, what's your favorite part about
Yeah,
that?
like what part are you good at?
Oh,
How
yeah.
did you get good at?
Yeah.
Like, was there a part where you weren't good at this, and all of a sudden something clicked, and you became good, and you got a lot more confidence?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Favorite vacation.
there we go.
What's your favorite? And why was it your favorite vacation?
Yeah.
So those why questions are so
The
important.
fish stories, right?
Yep. That's
Yeah.
right. The fish platform.
Yeah.
You get curious. When I was in snow camp, I got good stories, buddy. When I learned,
Yeah.
curiosity paid off. I learned about somebody surfing. serving raccoon, a family deal.
And
I learned about how to make possum taste good. Like I learned all kind of crazy stuff I'm never going to use,
Yeah, right.
but I'm going to tell the story.
It's to be curious, and also there's a level of anticipating that everyone has stories, and so many people have really interesting stories. And so if you're worried about finding somebody who's just boring and not being able to
Foundational way to love somebody. I'm sorry, I'm excited.
yeah, expect
It's a core
that
way to
somebody
love
has
somebody.
a great
Yes.
story.
it shouldn't be a burden. It shouldn't be overwhelming.
That's what we're trying to do here. That's what we're
And
trying
so,
to do here.
so what I would ask folks, if you will, just bring down the temperature
Yes.
and
yes.
just relax.
What's the easiest version
Yeah.
you can think of
Yeah.
if you care about somebody else?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right?
Yeah, just, I mean, if you don't want to have it at your house, we get that. But also, if you have it at your house, everything doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't.
This is a really good mechanism. The whole eating around with people, enjoying meals, passing the plate and sharing good things, sharing stories, asking questions. All of this is a really good metaphor. I think it's also another level for people to jump into a faith conversation.
Yes.
And that's ultimately what we're asking for. This is what the model is. We're learning from wonderful dinner conversations, lunch, brunch, whatever it is. And then we're taking that into faith conversations.
That is the goal. But also, I would don't get too overwhelmed with that, because when you're having faith conversations, they should happen very naturally.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know about that, but I know that what I learned from the life of Jesus is.
Yes.
Yes.
And to talk about Jesus like he was a brother or a human or somebody
Like
you like, it takes a while to figure that out.
It does.
I mean, the other thing is when you get to know these people, like I tell stories about him, I tell stories about you, I tell boys about the kids,
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
and it's the same thing.
Well, I
You know?
think that's really good. I also think that having that relationship and that friendship makes a huge difference too. When we're talking about this, some people will think of the word evangelism, and evangelism for a lot of people is that cold, I'm going to go knock on doors and tell people about Jesus. That's one way of doing
right.
it, I guess.
and not the best way.
No, but ultimately, and years ago, I learned of this kind of concept changing throughout evangelism of friendship evangelism.
Yes.
It's where you are in a relationship with somebody and you are friends with them before you end up sharing with them, because you want to have that rapport, that relationship, that trust, so that when you do talk about Jesus, it is an easier conversation. They know who you are.
Yeah.
You're not sharing, I know something you don't know.
Correct.
You're sharing life.
Correct.
I think one of the ways I shared with a friend of ours around the corner who was a Christian years ago, walked away from him, just as they call it, deconstructed.
Mhm.
Well, I talked openly with him about Jesus, but in a way where I'm sharing my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we
And you're sharing a different story that he has.
right?
Spirit.
He hadn't experienced this version of a Christian story. It was all fundamental and pretty intense and
Yeah.
stuff. So we rented a dumpster for neighborhood people to throw stuff. We rented together. He and we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
That's
so,
great.
so he's already seen how we love,
Yeah, absolutely.
serve, and love together, because what we did was, it was his idea. And so it wasn't cheap. It cost us $250, right? But we're like, all right, if you're dreaming like that,
Yeah.
we're going to get in there with you. So then when I talk, I'm sharing my life. I'm not afraid of it.
I think it could be as simple as that.
I've learned to say it and leave it there.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for you to agree or disagree right now. We are sharing life.
I'm sure. Yeah, sharing.
I'm not trying to agree or disagree when you're sharing life.
That's right. That's
We
right.
get in the sharing life space, right? And ask questions. So what's been your experience with such and such?
Yep.
It's surprising what people will say.
We're not saying you have to create the table. We're not saying you have to serve all the food and be the best host. We're not saying you have to do any of that for the meal. We're not saying you have to do any of that for the faith. You just have to participate.
Well, you have to love people.
You have to love
I'm not trying to
That's
correct you.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you love people,
Yeah.
then you've got what you
Which
need.
your table might be.
Yeah. Walk.
You're walking with 3 or 4 friends in your neighborhood.
You tell me about your brother-in-law.
A brother-in-law that
Right.
did that. That's right. That had a group of people that he told them about what we were doing, and he became a Christ follower again after years of saying no.
Oh, beautiful.
Just walking with friends. But point is,
But you that doesn't happen without the walking of friends, Ray.
that's exactly right.
Right?
Yes.
It's not just that he's got this connection to the story. He's living in that story with other people.
That's exactly right.
Even if we're not at the table.
That's right. But that's what I'm saying. Just we're using it as a metaphor. It's a good metaphor because we all gather for meals.
Yeah,
right.
Jesus did that. But I don't know what yours is. It may be you're a car guy and
Yeah.
you've got a bunch of guys that are that are
There's a lot
like
of tables,
cars.
so to
There's a
speak.
lot
There's
of
a lot of
tables.
tables.
So
Yeah.
don't get locked into that, and don't think that you have to save people or convince them to
Right.
follow Jesus. You let God's Spirit do that. You
Yeah.
just live your life. James is there. He's the guy behind the camera today. He's a short guy, 6'4". So he's one of the ones that went to Aspen. The other one is down there. That's David. And then his youngest one's over there. Get a shot over there of those guys. And that's Stefan's two beautiful girls.
Gemma and Ellie.
Wave, hey, wave hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
At the table.
I wanna be rich.